Hey, this is Mike from SynthCube and Small Bear, and this is Brad from Knuckle Effects. He's going to show us some of the great pedals that he builds.
Thank you, Mike. All right, so first off, we've got the Baba Yaga transistor fuzz, which is a really high gain, really sort of raspy 60s style fuzz with a lot more output than some of the more traditional fuzzes. Just real quick, here's my clean tone. And this is the Baba Yaga. So you can hear it's got a bunch of gain on tap. The texture control is sort of your gain control, but it also changes the way all the transistors are sort of interacting with one another. And then you've got a active low and high EQ that are, again, based around a transistor. So it started as an exercise in how many different transistor arrangements can fit in one pedal. And I'm pretty psyched with the way it came out. It's a simple one. It's an easy one to get a good sound on. Sounds great on bass as well. That's kind of the aim for most of my pedals. They work for everything.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
How do you, can you talk about the artwork?
Sure. The artwork was done by an artist named Michelle Dugan, who is an incredible artist and tattooer based out of, I believe the shop is Ghost in the Machine in Brighton. And she did the artwork for the Baba Yaga and for this other pedal, the Ill Omen. She's a long-time friend and just an incredible artist, incredible person, and is literally a wizard. She has a amazing Patreon that's all about like esoteric stuff. It's incredible. Cool. But yeah, I just kind of give her the basic idea of what I'm going for, and she does the rest. And it's just a creepy Baba Yaga hut in the middle of the woods. And all of my pedals are etched with acid by hand. I do that in my shop.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't come across in the video, but the texture is really cool. And the way the patina sort of naturally comes across, each one is like unique. This Benefez looks totally different from the other one. The art is the same, but the color has sort of developed in a way. So it's cool that like your unit sort of will look like your unit. Yeah,
every single one is like you said, the artwork is the same, but the way the patina comes across and sometimes the depth of the etch, and it's sometimes you get a sort of rusty look like this one has, and some of them are more just kind of darker gray. Yeah. We want to move on?
Yeah, what's next?
All right, cool. So what's next is the Benefuzz. This was the first pedal that I started building. And it was during a really heavy Smashing Pumpkins phase. And I was just completely obsessed with their tone. I knew that a lot of it came from the IC Big Muff, so that's what this is based on. But it's got a little bit more under the hood, a lot more output level. And you can actually dial your mids back in if you want, which I think is pretty helpful for any Big Muff style circuit. But no mids. And some mids. And you can hear it gets you can get some feedback out of it pretty quickly, pretty easily, even at this low volume. But yeah, that was one of the first ones I did. Originally, they were I made one for Great Scott was putting on a benefit for shortly after the marathon bombing.
Sure.
And the Benefuzz was my contribution to it. And then I realized it just sounds like fake Italian for good fuzz. So yeah, that one's been around the longest out of all of them. And again, works great on bass, works really well on guitar, but And then I discovered the other day from your post that it sounds great on synth as well.
Yeah, totally. So I see you've got the 9-volt to 18-volt on a couple of these. What's that about?
So the Illomin and the Benefuzz can both do up to 18 volts, and it gives you, a little bit different of a clipping response because the headroom of the chips are much higher,
Right.
but the clipping threshold of the diodes are still the same.
Sure.
So it changes the way it sounds a bit, but it's also useful if you've run out of 9 volts.
Totally, you still got that 12-volt open.
You can still go. But the Baba Yaga and this other one we're going to get to, the Martyr Box, both are 9 volts only.
Okay.
And the 12 pre also is only 9 volts, but that's boosted up to 15 volts internally.
Awesome.
But speaking of the Martyr Box, this
let's check that
this one started as a custom pedal for the band Forn when they were based out of Boston still.
Cool.
And then we changed the design enough that they were comfortable with me releasing it as like an actual pedal. And it's another transistor-based sort of fuzz, sort of overdrive, sort of boost. But it's got a combination of germanium and silicon in there.
Cool.
And it sounds really good when you're just pushing an amplifier real hard with it.
Sweet.
This is going to sound probably more like a fuzz, but it works great as a boost as well. So, yeah. And at the lower end of the gain, it's just kind of a nice overdrive. And then when you crank the gain all the way up, it gets super. And with hotter pickups, it'll squish really nicely
Sure.
as well.
Yeah.
You could hear a little bit of that like super squishy compression, but then, so this is a variable gain side of it, and then the boost section is the same circuit with a set gain. And it gets exceptionally loud, which again is just great for overdriving amps.
Totally.
Sounds fantastic into a Marshall. That's actually my favorite sort of combo. But we've also found it sounds very good into a Model T.
Sure.
Does the motorcycle thing pretty well. Yeah, and those are the three that I know you'll have in stock shortly, and then the other two are stuff that I'm working on getting more of them out.
Well, I'd love to hear about the other two too.
Oh, all right,
Let's
cool.
talk about
So, if we're starting back here, this is the Illomin overdrive. This is it started out as a bass overdrive, so it's kind of a darker drive to begin with. And then due to a happy accident on the breadboard, I discovered this little mod for the tone stack that lets you do 3 different sort of mid positions. And that really opened up the pedal as far as I'm concerned. But it's just sort of a dark, nice overdrive. And the original idea was with the gain down and the level all the way up.
Sure.
It's just sort of a nice boost, and you've got a nice, useful EQ, but with the gain up a bit more. And that's the middle sort of flat mids position. This is the more scooped mids. Also a little bit more of like an AM radio. And then the pushed mids are a little bit more reminiscent of some other overdrives that exist out there.
Super flexible.
Yeah, and this it sort of comes from the lineage of like the Distortion Plus or the 250 preamp, the DoD
Sure.
250.
Yeah.
So it does as the gain goes up, it tightens up your low end a little bit, which I find really useful. And if you miss it, you can always just turn up the low end and you're good to go. But that again, that's got the Michelle Dugan artwork on there. And then the Lead 12 is based on the Marshall Lead 12 practice amp, which sounds surprisingly good. It's pretty true to the original preamp with one slight mod, which is the response switch. So this is more true to the original 12 pre. Just kind of a simple, nice beginning point overdrive. And then the response switch gives you a little bit more low end and a little bit more gain at lower volumes, but as you turn up the gain, the effectiveness of this switch diminishes. It's sort of like a bright switch on an amp that
Sure.
as you turn it up, the bright switch doesn't really do much
Totally.
anymore. But so that's tight response and then looser response. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll drive a power amp all day. If you want that to be your entire tone, you can do that.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Awesome. I know Synthcube and Small Barrel have the Benefuzz, the Baba Yaga, and remind me of that one?
The Martyr Box?
The Martyr Box available this week. How soon are you hoping to have the other two available?
Probably a couple weeks.
Great. Well, Brad's going to have a pedal board down here at our storefront in Waltham, Mass. So if you're nearby, feel free to come try any of these out. And if you're far away, you'll just have to trust what you heard in the video and order one. And we'll get it shipped to you right away. Thanks a lot, Brad.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Mike.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.